Good morning, y'all. I'm back again for another wrap up. This time we're doing the July wrap up. And I went audiobook crazy this month. I read like 17 books, I think, but most of them were audiobooks. So let's start off by saying I listened to 3 to Get Deadly and 4 to Score, which is 3 and 4 of the Stephanie Plum series. By Janet Evanovich. Of course, they both got 5 stars. I talk about them in almost every video, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but it's just a really funny bounty hunter slash mystery slash thriller type of thing. I just like them because they're really funny. Let's see. Oh, I found a new series this month. First of all, I want to start by saying that, sorry Sookie Stackhouse, but you got bumped down to number 2. You're not my second favorite series. And that's because I read Scythe in June, and then I read Thunderhead and the Toll. I read Thunderhead and the Toll in July. But I am in love with this series, so much so that this is what I asked for my birthday, is this series. It's so good. And if you didn't know what the series is about, you're living in a utopian world where there's no death, no sickness or anything like that. It's all been cured, but to keep the population down, there is a group or committee or whatever of Scythes, and they're the only ones allowed to kill, and they do it to keep the population down, so they get to pick whoever they want or whatever. So you can be 12 years old or you can be 200 years old, but if they pick you, you're getting cleaned. But there's so much more to it. There's like, it's a utopian world, which I love the world setup. And there's politics behind it, and there's drama behind it, and there's romance, and you know, all this other stuff. So it's just, I love it so much. Oh, my arms are getting tired. How do y'all do this? And then I also read, that's by Neal Shusterman. Obviously, all 3 books got 5 stars. It's a youth utopian sci-fi. The Thunderhead, there was 3 points of view. There was Citra, which is now known as Scythe Anastasia. And then another point of view is Rowan, who is known as Scythe Lucifer. And the third point of view, okay, like in Thunderhead, the one in the green is Citra, aka Scythe Anastasia. The one in the black robe is Rowan, aka Scythe Lucifer. My favorite character in the whole series is her. Well, there's no gender, but I just kind of pictured the way she's motherly and stuff. I just kind of pictured her as a female, but that's my opinion. So I want to show you, these are very simple covers. This one has 2 scythes. This is Scythe, and then Thunderhead has clouds, because the Thunderhead started out as the cloud, which kind of makes it scary because we have the cloud nowadays. And Thunderhead is a mother computer that controls everything from food to life to where you live. There's no hunger, there's no rich and poor. And then the Toll was points of view from kind of a little bit of everybody. There was different groups. There was Thunderhead, which is a computer. There's the Scythe group. There's a religious group called The Tonist. So it was really good, but there was a lot of different points of view. But anyway, this one has, let's see if I can show it. Oh, okay. It's actually, I think it would be, anyway, it's a toning fork. It's the symbol of the tonist. So I like that it had 3 different symbols on the covers. First one was the scythe, the second one represented the thunderhead, and this one represents the religious group. So I really like that about it. Okay, and I also finished reading The Stand by Stephen King. I'm sure y'all have heard about it. It's a horror apocalyptic book. It's about this flu outbreak that kills off, I want to say, like 90% of the population. It kills off a lot of people, and the survivors are kind of divided into 2 groups, and it's kind of made out to look like there's one good group and one bad group, and they're just kind of trying to survive and fighting against each other. Now this one, I had trigger warnings of murder, rape, child loss, flu epidemic, sickness, death, you know, all that kind of stuff. Because the thing is, some of that stuff was hard to read, like talking about rape, and then there's slavery and what do you call it, human trafficking and stuff like that. It's hard to read about, but if you really think about it, if something like that were to happen in real life, those things would occur. So I just figured I would put the trigger warnings, but you can't get mad at the author for putting those things in there, because it's really realistic. If you really think about it, if something like that were to happen, it would get bad. I gave it 4 stars because I love Stephen King books, but I stretched this book out over like 2 months. Like, I would read a little bit and then I would go read something else, and I would come back and read some more because it was so long. It's like a whole series in a book. It was over 1,000 pages long. So, okay. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. It's a prequel to The Hunger Games. A lot of people didn't like it, so I'm going to be the unpopular opinion. Don't hate me. But what I did is I read that one first when it first came out, and it's been a few years since I read the Hunger Games series, so I read it first, and then I went back and reread the Hunger Games series. That's a mouthful. And this is the only one that I have physically. I have to order the other ones to go with it too, and I don't even have the cover for this one. I don't have the jacket for it. But anyway, I'm almost finished with this one. I had this much left, so I'm gonna finish it today, so I'll be able to put it in July wrap up. But anyway, so I think by doing that is the reason I like it, where so many other people don't like it. That may not be the reason for them, but for me, I feel like that's the reason that I liked it a little bit better. And I really like the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but I feel like I wanted more. Like, it was set in a certain time frame. It was set around the 10th Hunger Games, where Coriolanus Snow, he was, I think he was somewhere around 19ish, somewhere in there. He wasn't very old at all, but it was his first year being a mentor, and he got this girl from District 12. And even in the 10th Hunger Games, everybody was like, well, 12, they never win. They're automatic losers. And I'm not going to say what happens, but anyway, it's his first year being a mentor. And it's not really the start of when he started going bad, because I feel like he always did little things to be bad. But I feel like I wanted it to be more like it was centered around that time, and I feel like if it would have had little snippets of his life all the way out through his life, showing all these different things that he did to get from here to being president, and he didn't do it in a nice way, we all know that. So I feel like if they would have put a little bit from different ages of different things he did to get to that point, it would have been better. But that's the only complaint I have about it. But I don't know. I like the fact that it didn't try to show that he just automatically went bad. It was showing that he was always that way. I gave it 5 stars. I read a book called My Southern Journey, True Stories from the Heart of the South by Bragg. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I listened to it on audiobook. It's basically just him talking about different things in his life from growing up in the South. So I really enjoyed it because I felt like it was very relatable for me because I grew up in the South. And it wasn't just relatable, it was funny. It's like the funny stuff that happens. So I basically just giggled through the whole thing. But yeah, I gave it 4 stars because it's a nonfiction. I usually don't like nonfiction. I don't think I knew that it was a nonfiction going in. And then, like, when I heard him talking, I was like, wait, this is about his real life. But it was so funny, I just listened to it. But normally, I don't like nonfiction. I read a book called The Coldest Girl in Coldtown by Holly Black. I went into this book, the synopsis was very vague. It's a youth book. I went into this book thinking it was a zombie book. It turned out to be a vampire book, which is fine. I like both. But I DNF'd the book 30% in because it was so boring, and one of the characters in it actually got on my nerves. This girl gets bitten, so she's traveling to one of these towns that they have set up for vampires. And so she's traveling there to get checked out to see if she's infected. This is one of those worlds where they treat being bit by a vampire like a disease. So along the way, she meets up with all these different characters, and she meets this brother and sister who are like these vampire fans, like they want to be turned into a vampire. But then there's this vampire traveling with them, and he'll go to bite the girl, and she'll be like, oh my god, no, he's trying to kill me. And then any other time she's like, oh, I want to be a vampire so bad, I'm you know, just, and then he'll go, okay, and he'll go to bite her, and she's like, oh my god, he's gonna kill me. She got on my nerves because it wasn't just once, it was repeatedly, and it just got on my nerves. So obviously I only gave it 1 star. I read a book called The 10,000, well, audiobook. Most of these are audiobooks. I'm going to quit saying that. The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix Harrow. It's a youth fantasy. It's based in the early 1900s. It's a really slow burn, but it's really cute. It's about this girl named January who accidentally opens a door to another dimension. She, like, throughout her childhood and young adulthood, she's living with this, like, a foster dad, because her dad worked for this guy and he traveled and collected artifacts to bring back to this guy and a group of people. She grows up, she goes looking for him. I think she's like 17. She goes looking for him, and then she kind of figures out that she can do this thing where she opens these doors to different dimensions. So then the bad guys come after her. It's a whole thing, but it's really cute. I gave it 3 stars. Okay, I read a thriller called Have You Seen Me by Kate White. I gave it 1 star. It starts out really good. It's a slow burn, but it starts out really good. And at the end of every chapter, there's like this cliffhanger, so you want to keep reading to see what happens. But then you realize the main character, Allie, they portrayed the main character as really naive and clueless. One of those things like where you're watching a scary movie and they run up the stairs instead of out the house to get away. So like, for example, she would be like, "Oh my God, there's a killer outside my door." Instead of calling 911, she goes to the door to make sure he's still there, type of thing. And it's, people would try to convince her like, "Well, you were just imagining things." She's like, "No, I know somebody was there. I know what I saw." And they would be like, "Well, you were probably just imagining it." And she would be like, "Yeah, you're right. I was probably just imagining it." And you're like, so it got 1 star because I don't like it when they portray women like that, or even men. It's just, it's annoying. The last ones I have are, if you watch any of my past videos, you know that I've been really into the Cirque du Freak series by Darren Shan. And this month I read 6, 7, 8, and 9. I read 4 of them. They're pretty short books. I think the longest ones are like 200 pages. And when you listen to them on audiobook, they go even faster. But anyway, they're youth paranormal horror. They've got vampires, they've got wolves, they've got, actually they got 2 different types of vampires, and vampanese. They have the circus called Cirque du Freak, where you've got like a giant spider. The spider's like huge, that does tricks, and they've got little people, and they've got bearded lady, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I was really into the series until the end of the 9th book. Let me tell you why. Okay. From here until I put this pink book down, it's going to be spoilers. When you have a book or series and they kill off a main character, you grieve, you move on. But let me tell you, one reason I didn't like Divergent, I love the Divergent series until the end of it, until they killed Triss off. And then I just didn't like the series anymore. But at the same time, you know that she died to save everybody else, so you get it. So I've spent 9 books in this series with Darren and his mentor, his creator, Mr. Crepsley. At the end of the 9th book, they kill Mr. Crepsley off. But then they say, no, he survived, like he's swinging out over a pit. Or he falls into a pit and then he grabs something and swings out. He's saved. They do that twice. I'm like, oh, okay, you tricked me a little bit, but, you know, you're keeping the excitement going, I get it. And then after the 2nd time, it happens again. He gets saved. And it goes on, birds are chirping, Cinderella's singing, everybody lives happily ever after. You're like, okay, that's pretty good. And then it flips, and it's like, oh, but I only wish that that's how it's happened. That's how it happened. So then it goes on to describe this very horrible way that this character dies that you've gotten attached to over 9 books. And not only does he horribly die, but they kill off a main character for no reason. Because at the end of the book, they find out that the bad guy that Mr. Crepsley died to save everybody from, when they killed this said bad guy, they find out at the end of the book that he wasn't even the real bad guy. So Mr. Crepsley died for no reason. And then Darren pretends like he doesn't even care anymore because it was all for nothing, which is completely out of character for him. So it's like Game of Thrones all over again. they just completely flipped a character around to something that he's not. There's 3 books left in the series, and I won't be reading them. I'm done. Because that was a little much. It wasn't just one thing, it was repeated things. I don't understand why authors do that. And I might get a lot of hate for my opinion, but I don't care. This is my opinion. Okay, I need to stop ranting. So, it just really annoyed me. So, with that being said, I think that's all of the books that I read this month. And go watch my TBR for August, because I did it a little different this month. So go check that out and see what I'm talking about. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.